All right, so to answer your question directly, yeah, you should still approach girls who don't show you any indicators of interest, and even girls who you actively think, because sometimes, you look at girls and she has just resting bitch face. You're like, oh, she looks mean, or Jesus Christ, or sorry, there's another client freaking messaging me. Or you see a girl and she's on the phone, or she has headphones in, or something like that, and you're like, well, I don't want to bother her, blah blah blah, but they're just her being on the phone or having headphones in. I mean, yeah, there's some girls who, like, if they have their headphones in, like, they're actively trying to, like, block out the world. But even that doesn't necessarily mean that they would reject you or be a bitch to you or something like that. Because think about it. Like, basically, the factors that go into getting a number are if she's available sexually, like she doesn't have a boyfriend, or she does, but she just doesn't give a fuck about cheating on him. She's actually in the mood or at a point in her life where she is fine with hooking up with a guy. She's attracted to you, she likes you, blah, 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 okay? So those are the things that basically determine if she's going to sleep with you or at least go on a date with you. So if a girl has headphones on, but all those other things are true, she is sexually available, it would be physically attracted to you, and she's in a state that she is open to hooking up with someone, then her having headphones on doesn't really affect those other things. Like, if a good deal comes up, most people will take it regardless of the circumstance. It'd be like if you were really intensely working on something, like in deep concentration, and someone just came up to you and was like, "Hey man, you want $1,000?" You wouldn't be like, "I'm concentrating, you just interrupted." You'd be like, "Oh fuck yeah, just a free $1,000? Hell yeah, that's a good deal." So yeah, a girl being on a phone, being on headphones, reading a book, anything like that, I don't even want to say that there's a lower chance that it'll work out. I mean, if a girl's gonna reject you, like when girls reject you, a lot of times, and they give some excuse, it's almost never the actual excuse. It's just a thing to kind of smooth things over, just like how if a girl doesn't have a boyfriend, if she wants to reject you politely, she'll say she has a boyfriend. If a girl is on the phone and she says, "Oh no, I'm on the phone, I'm busy," it could be that all those three things are true: available, in the mood, and also attracted to you. And she's just so engrossed in it, she just doesn't even want to deal with it. But most of the time, she was never interested, and she's just using that as an easy way to reject you, like a socially acceptable way. Doesn't mean she's a bitch, doesn't mean she's fucking blah, blah, blah. It's just whatever. It's a rejection, no big deal. I've gotten a fuckload of numbers with girls who were busy in some other way. Freaking, I actually, I just had a client, excuse me, I just had a client like maybe a week ago. He said he went up to a girl and she was on the phone, and he literally just did the approach like normal. He didn't even acknowledge, oh, she's on the phone, or, oh, hey, is this call important? Hey, can I blah blah blah, whatever. And what happened is exactly what I said happens if a girl's on the phone and she's interested. He didn't even have to say get off the phone. He did the opener, and she said, hey, I'll call you back in a few minutes. She was interested, so she hung up the phone of her own will and engaged in the conversation, and then he got her number. I don't know if that one turned into a date, but it doesn't really matter. The point is that guys will forego all these different types of approaches because all these things they think will happen, or it's not polite, it's not socially blah blah blah, whatever. They won't do girls that are busy in some way. They won't do group sets. They won't do girls who are, oh, she's walking fast, she must be in a hurry, she must not blah blah blah. They won't do mixed sets where there's a girl with at least one other guy in the group. They'll think of all these reasons for why shit's gonna go wrong, or there's a super high chance of rejection or whatever, and it's just not really the case. I mean, there's some situations where there's a higher chance of rejection for whatever reason. Like, let's say it's a group of like 5 girls and you go up and talk to whatever one you're interested in. For each additional girl, there's a higher chance that one of them's like a bitch and is just going to ruin it for whatever reason. But there's still a chance. So to kind of sum all that up, literally, when I say like do 100% of approaches regardless of the situation, you think I'm exaggerating. I am serious. Any girl who you see who is attractive, and you want to talk to her, go talk to her. Like you think I'm joking? Like it's just hyperbole and he really means most. No, I mean fucking all of the girls. Go up and talk to them, and it'll be fine. All right, so back to the choosing signal thing. So I'm gonna give you a bunch of examples where the perceived outer behavior or the perceived like external situation is not necessarily an indication of her intent or what she will do. All right, so I'll start off with some like positive external things. So a girl could be like kind of checking you out a little bit, or she just kind of gives you like a look, and maybe you look over there and she looks away. Something, whatever. Okay. Now she could find you attractive, but she's in a relationship, and she is also faithful to the guy who she's in a relationship with. Like a girl can look at you, and just like you can, look around and see a girl who's attractive, and let's say you're in a relationship and you actually love the girl you're in a relationship with, you can find a girl attractive, but that doesn't mean, as far as how that translates into intent and actual actions, that doesn't mean that you're gonna fucking actually go up and go on a date and sleep with her and do all this shit, okay? So a girl could just find you attractive, and she's just looking. Hey, yeah, you're attractive, cool. You can still feel good about that, get some validation from it, but that doesn't mean that she is going to sleep with you or even give you her number or even really give you the time of day. She could find you attractive and she's not in a relationship, but she just doesn't want to meet new guys at that point for whatever reason. Maybe she's already sleeping with one guy and it's not a relationship, but she just goes with one guy at a time. She's just at a point in her life where she doesn't want to deal with guys. Like sometimes girls go through those random periods. They're like, oh, I'm swearing off guys for a fucking year, and then it only lasts like 2 months or whatever the fuck. Let's see. It could be that, well, guys will misinterpret like friendly or bubbly or extroverted or whatever behavior with interest or intent. And they're, again, like I said, I'm sure there's some small correlation, but it's not a big enough correlation to actually base any decisions off of, so you might as well just say it's zero. There are girls who are naturally really friendly, naturally really bubbly, they're extroverted, they're confident. Even girls, there's some girls who are naturally even a little bit flirty. Even being a little flirty doesn't necessarily mean, Jesus Christ, I'm getting fucking calls up the ass today. Even a girl being flirty doesn't necessarily mean that she'll do something. So, like, sometimes a guy will be like, oh man, like, we had a 10-minute long conversation. She was super excited about it, and she was even asking me questions back. Oh, man, it was so good. I felt the connection instantly. And then let's even just say that they get the number, and then the girl doesn't respond. And that's one of the things that feeds into, oh, well, girls are just playing games. Why would she do that if she fucking blah, 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 whatever? It's like, well, what would you rather her do? Like, you go up and talk to her, and she just says, fuck you, bye? Like, what really could she do in that scenario? If she's a friendly person, she's going to be friendly to everyone. Like, I'm friendly and nice to girls who I'm also not attracted to. Like, even if I know that a girl is, because, sometimes you get, like, approached out at a bar or something like that. Even a girl who I have no intention of doing anything with, I'll still be nice and friendly to them. Like, what? Like, even the thing you say you want, which is, well, why would she be nice to me if, because she's a nice fucking person. Like, that's just, it's just weird to think that that automatically translates into her wanting to sleep with you. So, a girl could be just really extroverted, and also she just has good social skills. Like, it's a person who has good social skills and, is just good with people, and they kind of just know how to get people to like them. That's the thing that I advocate, is asking the other person questions. I do that with everyone. I almost never talk about myself unless it kind of makes sense within the context or someone specifically asks me about it. I ask questions about other people. I get to know them. That doesn't mean that I want to fuck them. Like, I do that with guys and girls. Like, that, all my friends that I know deeply, I don't want to fuck them. I wasn't asking them deep questions because I want a sexual relationship. That's just who I am. So just a girl asking you questions and being engaged in the conversation, like, that would be a psychopathic person or sociopathic or whatever, for someone to only be engaged and nice to a person that they purely want to sleep with. So yeah, and even things that are considered like flirty, like she's actively doing some flirty things, I would say that has a higher correlation, a higher chance of showing interest. But even that doesn't necessarily mean that she's interested. Okay. So now on the other end, there's some like negative, quote unquote, surface level behaviors or things that are kind of not an indicator of interest that don't necessarily mean that she is not going to do something. So one of them is the girl is shy. A girl could just be shy. She wants to know you more, but she's just shy or a little unconfident or whatever, and she's like scared of saying the wrong thing, and she doesn't know how to talk to people that well unless she's comfortable with them. So a girl like that, she might give short responses, or she might not look like she's quote unquote engaged, but she actually is. She's just nervous. And because she's kind of scared of like saying the wrong thing or whatever, or maybe some girls are like scared of offending people, they're not going to ask you questions back because they're shy and they don't want to offend you. But some guys will take that as, well, she wasn't interested because she didn't do this completely other person. There's 8 billion people in the world, and this person didn't do the exact thing that I wanted them to do. How dare they be a different person from me and not do the thing that I want? Like, it's actually a very selfish way of looking at things. So a girl who's shy will put out a lot of behaviors that could seem like lack of interest, but that doesn't necessarily mean that. A girl could be just kind of naturally indifferent or kind of like nonchalant about things. Doesn't necessarily mean that she doesn't care. She might just be a girl who's like, she's not mean, but she's just kind of, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'm chill. You know, like those like chill, like kind of bro-y type girls. Like she could just be that. And a girl who's like that, she's not going to give all these external things of interest, but she could still be interested. And then there's some girls, this is probably a minority of the time. There's some girls that will actively show disinterest, and that's actually them being kind of flirty, or that's just them kind of testing you, but in like a fun way. Kind of the same thing where, well, you know how, the thing they say, like when you're really young in school and they're, oh, if a person's picking on you, that means they like you. It's kind of one of those things. Like a girl could actively show disinterest or just kind of like fuck around with you, but that's just how she communicates. She thinks it's funny. Or she could be actively testing you and be like, I wonder if this guy can deal with this attitude or whatever. But that doesn't mean she's not interested. And then there's also some girls, just like there's some guys who are just naturally, they're just always going to be assholes. There's some girls that are just fucking bitches. Like they're bitches or they're just a little bratty all the time. But that doesn't mean that there's no guys she's interested in. A girl who's kind of bratty like that, she's going to be like that kind of to everyone to a certain degree. A guy who she's interested in and maybe gets a little bit of a connection to, usually they'll be a little less bratty with that guy, but still the baseline level will be there. Like just because a girl's a bitch doesn't mean she doesn't need to have sex. Like bitches need to get fucked too. So those are a few examples of times where a girl could quote unquote show interest or give indicators of interest, but it doesn't actually mean that. And then some where girls are quote unquote not showing interest, but they actually are interested. It's actually best to not take any of that stuff into account, because what'll happen is, like, you'll have your thing you want to do. You're strong in your frame. I'm this guy, I'm this personality. This is the thing I want. And then when you take too much into account of, well, what the girl thinks, and well, she's giving me this indicator, and blah, 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 that'll make you just over calibrate, and it'll make you change your personality. It'll throw you off your game. It'll just kind of make you second guess things, and you'll be too in your head. You'll keep calibrating and be like, well, maybe I should go. Oh, maybe I should pull back a little bit. Well, maybe I should. Well, you know what? I don't think she's interested, so I'm actually not even going to try, and blah, blah, blah. Literally, just have your thing you want to do. Go in there, do your thing. They'll react however they want to react, and then go for what you want, which is go for the fucking number. That doesn't mean be overly an asshole or anything like that. Like, you can do what you want and be strong in your frame and not be a fucking asshole. Like, I do and say what I want, but I'm not, I don't necessarily assert my frame on the girl and, like, do all these overt things of, like, trying to control her and do all these crazy things. I just do what I want, and how she acts doesn't really affect me, and I just fucking go for what I want. And I've had actually this girl who I had, she was a plate for literally like almost 2 years. And she said, "I'm glad you asked for my number, or I'm glad you asked me out on a date. I was really nervous when I first met you." She said something along the lines of like, a lot of guys, they think I'm not interested, or sometimes I think I come off like a bitch, but it's really I'm just shy or nervous. I can't remember her exact words. This is like 4+ years ago. But shy girls who are on more extreme ends of the spectrum, like a shy girl, they will actually appreciate you pushing forward more and not being affected by it, because most guys are affected by it. Most guys will see that stuff and they'll get in their own feelings. They'll get insecure and be like, well, she's not showing me the level of interest that I feel I deserve. And so because of that, blah, 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 whatever. But if you're just not affected by it, you just take them as they are, be an understanding person, while also not like catering to them, then the shy girls will actually appreciate you moving forward a lot more. And then also on the other end of the spectrum, the girls who are like bitches and they're kind of testy all the time, they will also appreciate it, because guys will also view that as, oh, disinterest, or oh, I don't have a chance, or well, she's too much to deal with, blah, blah, blah. A lot of times, there are some girls that are just too much to deal with and they're just fucking crazy. Like, fuck those ones. But there's some girls where it's not even that they're too much to deal with, it's that how they act affects the guys too emotionally, and the guy can't deal with their own emotions regarding the girl's behavior. It's not necessarily that the girl is super bitchy and testy. Some of them are. There's some legit, like, I can't imagine, there's some girls, can't imagine them ever being in a relationship, anyone being able to tolerate them for more than like fucking 30 minutes at a time. But most of the time when guys say, oh, I can't handle her, or oh, it's too much, or she plays too many games, she's putting me through a fucking roller coaster of emotions, it's really the guy can't handle it and he's putting himself through a roller coaster of emotions. Okay, so the thing you said about, like, you see other guys who will get approached at bars and you pretty much never get approached. So this is kind of under the general umbrella of just guys in general, because they don't have a lot of experience and they never really take the time to like go out and get the experience and learn all these things and actually get the data points. Most guys misjudge just the sexual marketplace in general heavily. They misinterpret it to a fucking ridiculous degree. So there's a couple things to ask yourself. First of all, when you say, oh, I see other guys get approached all the time, first of all, have you ever kept track of just one guy and see how much he gets approached? Or is it that you see other guys individually get approached and you're like adding all that up and then comparing it against your just how many times you get approached? Because yeah, if I wanted to, I could easily go out like in Nashville on Broadway. Yeah, guys are hitting on girls, girls are approaching guys, all this crazy shit. It's Broadway's mini Vegas Strip. It's fucking crazy. I could go there and I could find 20 plus instances. Okay, maybe not 20. We'll say 10 plus instances at least per night of girls going up and hitting on guys. But they're all separate guys. It could be 10, but it could be 10 different guys, and that's the only time each of those guys got approached that whole freaking night. But I'll over exaggerate and I will judge. I'll be like, maybe I only got approached once or twice or none. And I'll be like, everyone else is getting approached but me. But that's really just you kind of being like depressed and negative and kind of playing a little fucking victim card in your head. I bet that, and hey, there's some guys who will get approached obviously more than others. I mean, there are different advantages and all this stuff. Some guys are more attractive than others, all this other shit. But it's not as bad as you think. I would bet you that all those guys that you've seen get approached by girls, if you actually followed that one guy around for multiple nights in a row, he would at most maybe, that might be the only girl who approached him that night, or it would maybe be 2 or 3 or something. It's not one guy getting approached 20 times a fucking night. So, I mean, you said you've gotten approached a few times. So there's a chance that one of those approaches, a guy saw you and literally thought the same thing. Was like, damn, that guy got approached by that girl. Dang, why didn't she come up and talk to me? And this is how guys misjudge. They have not only do they have a small data set, but they are so emotional that they interpret everything through the lens of that emotion they're feeling, which is negative, I suck, it's impossible to do this, and blah blah blah. So that's kind of what you're doing right now. I actually had a client. This is a lot. Fuck. This is like maybe a year ago. What is it? It's September. Oh shit. This is a little over a year ago. This is like last July. And this guy was talking about, yeah, most of the time I go out at night, I go out with my friend, and he gets approached all the time. It's just not fair. Blah, 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 whatever. And he was creating this whole fucking story in his head about how he sucks and his friend's so much better than him and blah 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 whatever. But then once I actually asked like clarifying questions, it turns out that the situation was not at all what he thought in his head. I was like, okay, think about the last time you went out with that guy. Okay, how many? Because he was like, he gets approached like 10 or 20 times, blah, 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 whatever. In my head, I know the numbers. I just know the numbers. And I'm like, nope, that did not fucking happen. So I was like, okay, think about the last time you went out, or the last like 2 or 3 times. Like actually think individually, each separate one. The last time you went out, how many girls actually came up, talked to him, and had a full conversation? And he said 3. I was like, okay, so already 3 is less than 10 or 20, right? Okay, so you're already blowing out of proportion like 5 times what it actually is. Okay, that's just the first part. And then I was like, okay, so 3 out of how many hours were you guys out? Okay, 4 or 5. So 0.75 girls per hour came up and talked to him. Is that really that much? Well, no, but it's more than me. Okay, yeah, it might be more than you, but it's also like not as much as you think he's getting all the time. And then I said, okay, so 3 girls came up to him. Okay, and how many girls, including all the bars you went to, how many, we'll say single girls, how many single girls do you think were out that night? That you guys were just like in the vicinity of? It's something like 200 or 300 or something like that. And I was like, okay, so not only was it not 10, it wasn't even 5, it was 3, but it was only 3 out of what, 300 girls. So literally 1% of girls, of single girls. That's not even count. That's not counting because, hey, sometimes girls are in relationships and they'll go out and they'll still fuck whatever. Of just single girls, 1% of them came up and talked to him. Is that really that fucking much? Oh no, it's not that. Okay, so then you're viewing it as, oh, he got approached 3 times, but you're not viewing it as he didn't get approached by fucking 200 something women. So again, and I went through the whole fucking thing. Uh, oh, and then the last layer was, okay, of those three girls, how many of them did he have sex with? He's like, oh, I don't know. I was like, okay, well, did he get the numbers of all of them? Well, he got the number of he got one of their numbers. Okay, so that means that there was only a chance to hook up with one of them then. Do you know if he hooked up with her? Oh, I don't know. I think he said they were texting. Okay, well, if he hooked up with her, he probably would have said something because guys like to brag about that shit. So not only did he only get approached by 1% of women, but also he only got one of their numbers, and he might not have even slept with that girl. So even though, yes, that's more attention than you're getting, is there really that big of a fucking difference between you guys? And is the gap between you and him really that fucking big? And then he's like, no, no, blah, blah, whatever. So I tell you this whole story just to really emphasize how much guys misinterpret the sexual marketplace and other guys like results and success within it. There are guys who, I mean, obviously there's a hierarchy in everything. There's a spectrum of people in anything. Are there guys who have more advantages than other guys? Yes. But can those guys fully exploit all the advantages that they have? And can they fully exploit and take advantage of the options that they get from those things? Most of the time, not. For a guy to have multiple advantages in the sexual marketplace and also be really good, like have the skill and the know-how to actually take advantage of all those things is rare. Most guys just have one or the other. It is rare for a guy to have a lot of advantages and also put in the time and work to learn how to take advantage of all of those, it's just really rare, because a lot of guys who have natural advantages, they get a good enough sex life to where they don't feel they need to improve. And also, a lot of them don't even want to try to improve because it affects their ego. They don't want to get rejected, because to them, they're the guy that gets approached by all the girls and stuff like that. From what I've seen, most of the guys that I've seen who are really good with women are, I'm not gonna lie, they're above average. They're on average probably like sevens or something, taking everything into consideration. They're not like nines. They're not like eights, nines, and tens. Usually it's guys who they start off average, they get to some above average point, and then they figure out how to exploit the advantage that they gained. Okay, so yeah, like the gap between you and your friend is just there's a gap there. He's getting, realistically, objectively, he is now getting more results than you, but the gap is not as big as you think. And from what it sounds like, dude, he's 2 inches taller than you. 2 fucking inches. Like, if you went to the gym and you worked on your style, well, I mean, I know we're already doing that right now, but if in fucking, we'll say 6 months or whatever, you increase your confidence and your social skills, your ability to talk to and approach girls, you improve your looks, that'll also just passively get you approached by girls just a little bit more. Hey, maybe the gap might still be there, but you'll be getting enough of what you want to not even care about the gap. It's like if you were making $1 million a year, do you really care? Some guys would. But if you were making $1 million a year, would you care that Jeff Bezos makes tens of billions of dollars a year? No, because $1 million a year is enough. That's still really fucking good. So it's not about, I gotta beat this person, or I need to whatever. This whole thing, all this self-improvement and all this stuff, like learning game, it's to accomplish the goals that you have within game. If your entire mindset is, I need to be the best, I need to show everyone all this blah 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 whatever, that's still important to a certain degree for like validation and all that other shit. But if you don't have like objective goals of like what you want, and like you don't have even kind of an idea, it's just, I need to be better than this, I need to always be better, I need to this and that, and anyone who's better than me, I'm always going to be insecure, then this journey is not gonna be fulfilling, and it's pretty much never going to end, because you're never going to get past that need for all this external validation. There's just always going to be someone who's better than you. And I know, I said in one of the other audios that over this whole process, you slowly find out more what you like. So I'm not saying you have to know exactly your goals, but eventually you need to get to the point where you hone in on the types of girls you like and what you want, and figure out just kind of the lifestyle you want, and just get good enough to get that. And then that's fine. And just accept, hey, there's gonna be other people who are better than me in certain ways and blah blah blah. But I'm getting what I want, so it doesn't really matter.